Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling weird? Like somehow everything became your fault, even though it started as a normal discussion? Or maybe you felt like the other person barely listened to you, but somehow talked about themselves the entire time. Sometimes that's not just a bad conversation. Sometimes you might be dealing with a narcissistic person. And the tricky part? Narcissistic behavior doesn't always look obvious at first. So in this video, we're going to talk about 5 real signs that you might be talking to a narcissistic person based on how they behave in everyday conversations. Let's get into it. 1. They turn every conversation back to themselves. One of the most common signs is that every conversation somehow becomes about them. You could start by talking about your day, maybe something stressful that happened at work. And for a moment, it seems like they're listening. But then suddenly they jump in with something like, "Yeah, that reminds me of what happened to me last week." And before you know it, the conversation is no longer about you at all. Now, everyone does this occasionally. It's normal to relate stories. But with a narcissistic person, it happens almost every time. Your experiences become a stepping stone for them to talk about their own life, their problems, their achievements. Eventually, you start to notice something strange. You know a lot about them, but they barely know anything about you. 2. They rarely take responsibility. Another big sign is how they react when something goes wrong. Let's say you bring up a problem. Maybe they said something hurtful or did something that bothered you. Instead of saying something like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that," they might immediately go into defense mode. You'll hear things like, "You're too sensitive. That's not what I meant. You're misunderstanding everything." Or they might flip it around and make you the problem. Suddenly the conversation isn't about what they did anymore. It becomes about how you reacted. This kind of response can make you feel confused or even question your own feelings. And that's a pattern that shows up a lot with narcissistic personalities. 3. They constantly need validation. Narcissistic people often have a strong need for attention and praise. They might casually bring up their achievements during conversations, even when it doesn't really fit the topic. For example, if you're talking about work, they might say something like, "Yeah, my boss actually said I'm the best person on the team." Or, "People always come to me for advice because I'm really good at reading situations." At first, it might just seem like confidence, but the pattern becomes noticeable over time. They're not just sharing something. They're looking for validation. They want you to confirm that they're impressive, talented, smarter than others, or somehow special. And if that validation doesn't come, sometimes their mood can change pretty quickly. 4. They don't really listen. This one is subtle, but once you notice it, it becomes hard to ignore. When you're talking to a narcissistic person, it can feel like they're listening, but not really. They might interrupt you frequently. Or they'll wait for a small pause just so they can jump back in and steer the conversation again. Sometimes you'll finish explaining something important, and their response has nothing to do with what you just said. It's almost like they were just waiting for their turn to talk. And over time, this creates a one-sided dynamic. You're expected to listen to them, support them, understand them. But when it's your turn, you might feel unheard. 5. They make you feel drained after conversations. This might be the biggest sign of all. After talking with some people, you feel energized. The conversation flows and both people feel heard. But after talking with a narcissistic person, you might feel mentally exhausted. You might replay the conversation in your head wondering, "Did I say something wrong? Why did that turn into an argument? Why do I feel guilty about something that wasn't my fault?" That emotional drain happens because the interaction often becomes about managing their reactions, their ego, or their perspective. And when that pattern repeats over time, it can leave you feeling tired, frustrated, or even doubting yourself. Now, it's important to say this. Seeing 1 or 2 of these signs doesn't automatically mean someone is a narcissist. Everyone can show some of these behaviors occasionally, but when these patterns happen consistently, especially across many conversations, it might be a sign that you're dealing with someone who has strong narcissistic tendencies. And recognizing those patterns is important, because it helps you protect your time, your energy, and your mental space. If you've ever experienced conversations like this, you're definitely not alone. And sometimes, simply understanding what's happening can make a huge difference. If you found this helpful, feel free to like the video and subscribe for more content about psychology, relationships, and understanding human behavior. And I'm curious, which of these signs have you noticed the most in real life? Let me know in the comments.